Breaking news from One Bills Drive. The team just announcing they have fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Quarterbacks coach Joe Brady will take over Dorsey's duties. This comes off the heels of last night's 22-20 loss on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. The normally potent Bills offense has struggled to score points for most of their games this season. Again, the Bills firing offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Taylor Epps. This may not come as much of a surprise to many fans as we come on the air here. Sports director Matt Bove joining us now with more on this latest breaking development. Hey, Matt.
Just massive news from One Bills Drive today. The team announcing that Ken Dorsey is no longer the offensive coordinator after just a year and a half, and he is being replaced by their now interim offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who was the previous quarterbacks coach. So let's go over a couple things. First off, how did we get here? We got here because the Bills offense has looked broken for the last 6 weeks, especially. Now, some of these struggles actually go back to last season, and I really look at the game. They played a game against the Packers. In the second half of that game, they just didn't look themselves, and that kind of continued really for the rest of the season. There were some peaks and valleys. They just never looked as dynamic as they once did with Brian Daboll. Then you move into this year. They start the season really slow with a bad game against the Jets. Then they bounce back for a couple weeks. They have a great game against the Dolphins, but since that game, they have averaged just 20 points a game, which is not nearly enough for a team that is led by Josh Allen. He leads the NFL in total touchdowns right now, yet somehow the Bills are only averaging 20 points a game. So when you think of all of those different factors, somebody was going to take the fall. And it was not going to be Sean McDermott, at least not yet. And it's certainly not going to be Josh Allen. And that brings us to Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator. Does he deserve all of the blame? Absolutely not. I mean, if you watched the game last night, there's guys dropping balls, there's guys fumbling it, there's Josh making bad throws. So he cannot be held accountable for all of that, but he does need to be held accountable for putting his players in a position where they are not succeeding. And that's what's happened with the Bills really for the last year and a half since he took over. So that's why they ultimately made the decision to move Dorsey. Joe Brady comes in. What do you need to know about Joe Brady? Super young and innovative play caller. He's actually has offensive coordinator experience in the past. He was with Carolina. Now, he did not last in that job very long. It was only about a year and a half, just like Dorsey with the Bills. But he had a much worse roster in Carolina than Ken Dorsey had in Buffalo. So Joe Brady's going to come in and listen, you're halfway through the season. You see how it works out. If the offense looks good, then maybe they take that interim tag off. If the offense doesn't look good, then you go into the summer and you are looking for an offensive coordinator, and that is certainly your biggest priority. So this is massive news from the Bills. We are expecting to hear from Sean McDermott later today. Obviously, we will have that for you as it happens. And I apologize if you hear any fussy baby in the background. I pulled into a parking lot to do this, and I have my 8-month-old daughter who is really trying to steal the show here. So I don't know if she snuck her way on, but big news, and Ellie wanted to chime in on her thoughts too, I guess.
Yeah, really glad we got Ellie's take on this. Matt, thanks for joining us on this huge news, like you mentioned, out of One Bills Drive. Fans waking up today, cranky, upset, wanting to see something, right? And here it is, this move with Ken Dorsey now out and the quarterbacks coach getting moved into the offensive coordinator position, like Matt mentioned. We expect to hear from Sean McDermott at 4 o'clock today. 7 Sports going to have this all wrapped up for you in our coverage tonight at 5 and 6.